A bowl of water. Okay.
Thank you. I wanted you to know that I talked to Alex's father, who's very ill, as I said. But the good news is he's more than happy to come in Monday, sit down with you, and clear everything up.
Now, I appreciate that, but really isn't necessary.
So there's no need to contact the authorities, right?
That's, sure, I guess not.
I mean, you haven't contacted them yet, right?
Gladys, I'm really gonna have to insist that you are... Is that my ribbon?
You haven't contacted them, right?
No, I haven't. What is this?
Oh my God! Whoops! Look what I did. Oh my goodness.
Why did you do that?
Well, it was an accident, of course. Wow, that's really bleeding.
Terry, go get the alcohol and the first aid kit.
Oh, no, that's nonsense. Could you get me a rag, sweetie?
I think she cut my hair.
I'm calling 911.
Marcus, I think she cut my hair. Marcus, what did she do?
Wong is a weapon, and so are the kids. This is spoilers.
This is spoilers.
Benedict Wong. It is. It's a superhero movie reference.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you get it. You get it.
I know DC.
And you know spoilers, but you might be like, wait, where's the normal crew? Well, we're doing a new movie. Korey invited one of my favorite guests, Ronnie from Wasted Potential. Haven't been on since Lamb. But we're here to talk about a 2-movie club for Zach Cregger. And this time it's weapons. And this time it's kicking off Spooky Spoilers 2025. I didn't have an opening question that I thought of ahead of time. I'm ill prepared, but maybe we'll go, what weapon would you use to defend your home? You can only have one weapon. And by weapon, I mean person in your life who you're going to turn into a zombie to kill to the death, to fight to the death. I'll go first. Pappy, recording from Goshen, Indiana. I would, of course, pick Brett from Spoilers to be my one weapon. And now the zombies... or the brainwashed witch people in this movie don't use weapons, guns, but I'm going to let Brett use his guns. He can defend my house, then we can make it through a night zombie apocalypse type situation with that. Korey, did that give you enough time to think of someone?
This is Korey, formerly known as Kylo Ren Memes. I'm recording out of Simi Valley, California. Excited to podcast on weapons here for Spooky Spoilers, but to answer the opening question, it's weird picking a person, because you said what weapon, and I'm thinking like, oh, what do I have in my house? There's a baseball bat that's right next to my wife's bed that is within reach, so she can grab it if necessary. It also has a tube sock on it, so like if you swing it and someone grabs it, it'll slip right out of their hands. Clever, right? I also have a replica of the Rambo knife. It's fucking giant. It's like almost as long as my arm. But it's a knife. It's not a sword.
Is it really sharp?
Yeah, I had it sharpened. It was already really sharp, and I had it sharpened again. Jeez. I use it occasionally just for, like, if I need to hack something away in the backyard. It's pretty sweet. But this is a different kind of weapons, right? We're not talking about your traditional weapons.
You're a witch.
Yeah, I'm a witch.
And you have to have an article of their stuff, too. You have to be that close to them to qualify. Someone you could steal a lock of hair or a ribbon, perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know, like... I'd like to answer, like, which of the Patreons we'd like to use, Pappy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think Matt Troll would be a good one, you know?
Yeah.
Only because he has Troll in the name, and I imagine he's kind of demonic.
He's huge.
He probably kind of looks like the villain in this movie, you know?
Same lipstick.
But realistically, though, like, Josh, Spoiler Man Josh, he kind of already has that, like, empty look that the weapon people have in this movie, like that hypnotized people, like that dead eye. He kind of already looks dead inside. So like he could be like a sleeper weapon because he already looks like one of those fucking zombie folks, and he's pretty tall. He's a pretty big guy. And just imagine weapons Josh with like a slight smirk on his face. That's pretty scary.
Eyes popping out of his head. Like Wong running. Yeah, I can see it. Ronnie, what about you? I like the dual answer. physical weapon in your home / person in your life? You could say both.
Well, I have my grandmother's lucky machete in my
Wow.
closet. It's definitely dull. Won't cut through.
Danny Trejo?
Yeah. Got him for a good price. My grandmother won him in like a weird kind of gambling bet thing. It's a long story and it's not really even enough time for that. But
That's lucky.
But yeah, so Machete will come out and attack on command. But if I was gonna do a physical thing in my house, it's just my wife and and I wouldn't trust my wife to save my life. She'd probably throw me under the bus. But we recently just adopted 3 kittens, and the littlest one has like the sharpest claws, and I would 100% use her to scratch the hell out of you, because you would like get really close to it, think it's super cute, and you would just go for the eyes. So definitely our tiniest little cat, Lily, is a little monster.
That's legitimately scary. An army of 3 cats, almost like a Joseph Coney child army that you keep in your basement. That would be, yeah, that's terrifying.
Tear your head right off.
But I want to get right into this movie because, Korey, you suggested it. It was the horror hit of the summer, dethroned only by K-pop Demon Hunters. For a brief week, the sing-along version had a nice box office run, is now out on demand and in other places, should you know where to look. 2 things I want to say to start with. Before we'll get into the movie, we'll get into the characters, I want to jump the shark on 2 things. Ronnie, you were on for Lamb.
Yeah.
And this, just talk about the look of the movie, because it felt like any kind of like 2018 to 2022 like horror movie, like that same color grading and everything. It's kind of got that prestige horror vibe.
Yeah, it's got the $40 million budget, and the director Zach Cregger like uses that money, and I think everything looks phenomenal. I know you personally are not a big fan of like kind of like the naturally like lit things where things are a little bit too dark. I think
Very dark a couple times for me.
maybe in the end in the house it's a little dark, but the one scene that I think of that like I saw this in theaters and I rewatched it the other night, and like the scene that still sticks in my head is like when she's in the car and then there's like that zoom in and that zoom out of her walking on the lawn. I think like I think it's like perfect lighting, like it looks natural at least, and I don't know, like to me, I love the cinematography of this, and just like it's just a lot of just like tracking kind of shots, and it just feels almost like you're like being forced on this weird fairy tale journey, almost like the characters are being forced to kind of do these horrible, horrendous things by a blood witch. So I think it looks fantastic, but there is a lot of like dark shots that might like piss some people off, like especially when like Josh Brolin's having his nightmare.
I want to say that there's like a familiarity with the look of this movie that is just like Pappy said, that fits nicely in what some people might call like the prestige horror, right? Like the modern horror movies, like Smile. When I think of the movie Smile, it kind of has a similar look as this.
It looks exactly like It Follows. Like you could edit clips of It Follows into this movie. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, it's just like that color grading, that type of lighting they use. You know, they make things seem a little mysterious by the color palette.
It's a little muted.
I honestly not a big fan of that. But Ronnie, your point, the dynamic camera is cool.
And then, like you mentioned that like it does have that feel for like that kind of the decade of horror, but I also really got a lot of like John Carpenter like Halloween like feel to it. It could be just because it's like in like the suburban kind of area, but like how the camera flows. So like I'm sure it was probably one of the inspirations kind of behind it. Like there's this weird horror thing happening in the suburbs that just it's so odd, and it's just strange. It just like, but like you said, It Follows for sure feels like that, because it's also like one that takes place in like the suburbs too. It's like this weird force is following them in like this bland looking suburb area.
And also like It Follows is kind of, I think, one of the first of like that modern era of horror movies, you know? Maybe not the first to do it the way it did it, but like kind of one of the first to be widely successful.
It's kind of when people started like having the new horror like title.
Slow burn.
Yeah, along with that, like Slow Burn. style with it. Before we move on from the look too, I just want to say there's also a couple like silly shots, especially late in the movie. One that sticks out is when his name's Alex, right? The kid who doesn't get disappeared.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's like a line of salt in the house, and he like taps one toe over the line, but it zooms in on the toe tapping and plays like a dink sound effect. Like there's a couple of times too when they're chasing the witch that it gets goofy. But Korey, the other thing I want to mention before we really get into the story, which we will get into, is the story structure of this, where it's kind of like a Robert Altman type thing, but then also kind of flashbacks with like a Reservoir Dogs type thing. You know what I mean? How is the story presented?
I really like the way the story is presented, and it's presented at first with an introduction, a voiceover narration from a kid.
Right.
This movie is about missing children, and it's being told by a child at the beginning, and it explains how a bunch of children go missing and the mysterious circumstances in which they go missing. After that, though, right after that, the way the story unfolds is that it shows us the perspective of all of our main players one at a time. And eventually the movie catches up with all of them. And it's no longer bouncing between each person's perspective. We're now seeing the big picture. But at first, it's Justine, and then it goes to someone else, then it goes to someone else, and there's like a title card for each person. And at first that bugged me. When I was watching this movie in the theater for the first time, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to wait for the good stuff. And now I like it because the movie kind of played with my expectations. And I think when each person's story starts getting really good, then it goes to someone else. And it kind of like leaves you at the edge of your seat. And I really like that now in retrospect.
Yeah, I talk about George R.R. Martin way too much on this pod, but it reminds me of like a Song of Ice and Fire chapter where it's like just when you're like really starting to get in the character, like the most exciting thing happens, boom, it cuts to a different POV. Ronnie, how did you feel about the story structure?
I kept trying to think if I knew going into this or not, if it was a different story structure. I think I overheard it was an atypical kind of narrative, so I kind of knew going into it. But I love it because it's just for me the idea of like it kind of keeps you constantly on your toes of like, wait, what? It works perfectly for like a mystery of like you're getting these small pieces. Every character is discovering a little bit about what's going on, and then it cuts to kind of start you back over and kind of lull you back into this, and you're getting a little bit. So I love that. There's a movie from last year called Strange Darling that does a very similar kind of structure. You said Reservoir Dogs. I always think of like Pulp Fiction, where like the narrative, it jumps from like the middle to the end to the beginning kind of thing. But I guess you could say it's kind of gimmicky, but I think the gimmick works for me because, like you said, Korey, it starts off with like that narration. It feels like a fairy tale, like someone's saying, once upon a time, here's this normal thing, and then out of nowhere, this really obtuse, weird thing is happening. So then if you feel like it's a fairy tale, all that silliness that happens later, it's okay because you know you're kind of in a fantasy where like these things don't make any sense. So I like that jump around. It kind of fits into the narrative of like everyone's just trying to figure out what happened to these kids, and then the audience is trying to piece it together by getting fragments of the narrative.
I liked it. I'm with you guys. I to give us like a chance to get to know all of these principal characters more, right? And you could even say that there's like information about their lives that has absolutely no bearing on the actual story or events, right? Like that the fact that what's his name? Han Solo is dating the captain's daughter, right? Or like cheating on her, like, or that fact that he's an alcoholic, right? Like all these things that kind of matter, but also not really in the grand scheme of things. And Ronnie, you touched on it. The inciting incident. Let's get into the story proper now. What does happen in the intro, Ronnie? What is revealed by that narrator?
This is a true story. It happened right here in my town 2 years ago. A lot of people die in a lot of really weird ways in this story. But you're not going to find it in the news or anywhere like that, because the police and the top people in this town were like so embarrassed that they weren't able to solve it that they covered everything all up. But if you come here and ask anyone, they'll all tell you the same thing that I'm going to tell you now. This story starts in my school. Maybrook Elementary is kindergarten through 5th grade. So this one Wednesday is like a normal day for the whole school. And they had this teacher who was new. Her name was Justine Gandy. And on this day, she was going to her classroom just like every morning. But today was different. Today, none of her kids were there.
So this little girl who I don't think we ever get to see her, but that kind of works as like it's just like a detached voice. Just kind of like, here's this like suburban legend that, you know, if you know about our town of Mayfield or Mayfair, whatever it's called, it's like this is like the legend of Mayfair. And then basically in this town, in one class, in this one school, 17, I think out of 18 children disappear all at 2:17 a.m. They run like Naruto into the forest, and they never like until the plot starts are not seen, and then a month goes by, and people have questioned the sole remaining child. They've questioned the teacher. They've searched the houses, and there's just an absolute like weird, bizarro mystery, and no one knows what to do. And then after that narration ends, we're kind of thrown right into the middle of like the chaos and seeing how every one of these individual characters is kind of dealing with it. And kind of like you said, Pappy, like some are directly affected by this, others are not and seem kind of ancillary or not, like, you know, like wait, why kind of thing. Like why is this in there? But I like it because it kind of just feels more, it feels this town. This town is so weird. It seems normal, but like this bizarre, strange thing happens, and these weird characters kind of, to me, kind of fits around. It almost feels like kind of like Twin Peaks, where it's like everything seems pretty normal and kind of, but then there's all these weird things are happening, and all the characters are a little bit kind of odd too.
It got shit on when we did Fargo, but it does the Fargo thing too, where it's like, this is a true story. She says it out loud. It's like, well, this isn't a true story, though. We all know this is just made up. Yeah, and a lot of star power. We mentioned her, the one who's closest to it, the teacher who's in the classroom where all but one students disappear. Korey, can you tell us a little bit about Julia Gardner's character, Justine?
Yeah, Julia Garner Justine. She's the teacher of the class that went missing, of course, except for one student, but the rest of the class went missing. So she's immediately kind of the victim of the local town witch hunt. I mean,
Kind of makes sense, right? I would suspect this lady's a witch. That would be my first thought if that happened.
I am surprised that it's witch that gets painted on her car and not like bitch, you know, like
right.
But yeah, she's very much a suspect of the local parents. She's getting harassed. She's trying to cope. And one of my first favorite moments in this movie is about 10 minutes in, and we see her after like a, you know, big school conference with all the teachers and the parents, and everyone's yelling at her, and she kind of flees the scene eventually because they're getting a little hostile. She goes to a local liquor store at night, and it's a long tracking shot. We follow her through the store, and what I noticed in this scene, being an alcoholic, is that she's walking through the store and she knows exactly where she's going, right? She is totally honed in on her spot in the store where they sell her particular drink of choice. She's not just kind of going to randomly like say, okay, I need something, what should I get? And looking around for a minute. She knows exactly where she's going. And that is a sign of an alcoholic.
She stocks up too, by the way. She grabs 2 bottles.
Yeah, she got herself covered for 2 nights. Mm-hmm. This movie, I think, portrays addiction in a really interesting way. And different forms of addiction, like different stages, I'd say. We get a drug addict and a couple alcoholics. And I think Julia Garner is in that like pre-tragedy stage of alcoholism. as where Paul, who we meet later, is in the post-tragedy stage of alcoholism. He's had tragedy from drinking, and he's on his path to recovery, but we don't see him quite yet. We see Julia Garner, and she gets harassed. We get the classic, like, tropes of some scares at her door. Like the early on fake out scares that you would get in a horror movie. But what I like about this horror movie is it doesn't feel completely like a horror movie. I think it's more of a mystery.
That scene where she's at home, wasn't there a scene in Longlegs just like that, where she was like home alone and there's this sense that she's being watched, or like someone's like trying to fuck with her? Like, yeah.
Yes.
And also reminded me of Barbarian too, like because Barbarian takes place in a house too, and obviously same director. Yeah, but I was
Spooky
like,
basement.
Yep, and I wrote that down too. Like, Zach Cregger loves his basements.
Yeah, yeah. I think the beginning of this movie is way creepier than the ending of this movie. Obviously, right? Like, compared to other like new horror, like the ending of The Witch is like just as creepy, if not more so, than the beginning of The Witch, or like even Hereditary stays pretty creepy all the way through. By the end of this, it's like a completely different movie almost. It becomes way more comedic, but these first few scenes, they were scary. And like her behavior when she's just like stalking the one child in town, where like the worst child to be stalking possible. Like the whole time I'm like, what are you doing? You idiot.
Yeah, like you mentioned it already, like Korey, like the alcoholism, but I was writing down kind of like more general, like self-destructive behavior, like obsessive bad influence. And this movie is really all about disease, right? I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like all these things are contagions. They're all destroying this town. Like the actual antagonist is, but then like the alcoholism, the sex addiction, the obsessiveness of like, I can't let things go. The dad Archer can't like get past what's going on and happening to his son. Obviously, I'm not excusing his behavior because I'm guessing I don't have kids, but probably the worst thing in the world is probably losing a kid. I'm gonna do a hot take there and assume it's probably the worst thing that could happen to a parent. But I think the whole movie's all about that, like disease, destruction, and obsession.
Mm-hmm. What you see a lot in like the background in the schoolroom and on TVs is frequent mention of parasites.
Oh yeah.
Julia Garner's teaching about parasites. Benedict Wong is watching shows about parasites. They would have probably named this movie Parasite if there wasn't already an Oscar-winning movie with that same name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could argue that Paul's like a parasite because he doesn't get his job because of merit. He's dating the boss's daughter. You could say that the character of James is kind of a parasite, like leeching off of like people breaking into cars and stuff. So there's definitely that whole motif of like parasites and like just taking what doesn't belong to you, obviously.
Yo, new phone. It's me, dude. Dude, I got a job yesterday. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, so I just like a little teeny tiny problem because I can't start till I have like new shoes and, a whole outfit because, like I said, it's fancy. And, wait, this is a good thing. I got a job and I'm doing the thing. So, we can start chilling again. Ooh, of course I'm gonna pay Mom back, but I can't do that until I get the, money to get the clothes so that I can do the job so that I can pay Mom back. Hello?
Well, you don't know that he didn't have a job he needed clothes for, Ronnie. That seems a little unfair. Maybe that part was true.
You didn't buy his story?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, sorry.
He's getting like a maitre d' or something. He needs a tux.
I apologize. I assumed because he was a drug addict that he was a drug addict. My bad.
A couple of things I want to highlight from just Justine's chapter that we see. She has a liaison with a cop named Paul. We don't have a ton of details there. Probably most like she's bullied by the town, like you mentioned. Her car's painted red, which the most striking though is she comes across Alex's house. Like I said, the one kid in town who she shouldn't be stalking. And again, I found this house super fucking creepy in the scene where she's slowly walking up to the window and like peering in past the newspaper and then knocks over the shovel like an idiot, like I would too. Like that's super fucking creepy. And just like it's not like a jump scary sound necessarily, but it's weird just to see two figures sitting there in the shadows.
Yeah. It reminded me of The People Under the Stairs, which is an old school horror movie by Wes Craven. Just in that like the movie spends a lot of time outside this creepy house at first before the characters go inside. And there's just this mystery of like what is going on behind these doors, you know, behind these windows that are boarded up. Like it kind of like plays with your imagination a bit. And we get only a little glimpse of what look like two corpses sitting in a chair in this case.
I don't know about you guys. Like, I try to not do this when I'm watching like a mystery or a horror. I try to say like, I try not to guess it. I just want to enjoy a movie, but sometimes my brain, like, it gets intrusive, and I just try to think of like, well, what's going on here? Did you guys have like theories before you figured out what was going on? Like what you predict was like the twist when you like after you saw the house and you see them sitting there for the first time. Like, what was your guys' thoughts of what it was? Like the cause.
Justine's whole segment ends with her staking out the house and drinking while doing so. You start to see that her alcoholism is getting worse because she's pouring it in her big gulp. I thought that was a pretty clever sign. Like, she's really like degrading here. But she's staking out the house and she falls asleep. She's drunk. She's not going to wake up. The door opens. And even like the way the door of this house opens and closes is pretty neat because you don't see someone open and close it. It's almost like it does it on its own. Mm-hmm. Like the house has a mind of its own.
Or it's being controlled.
And we see the silhouette of a figure emerge from the house holding what looks like a knife. And the silhouette of this figure is not super clear, but it looks crazy. Mm-hmm. And it's walking with its arms up with a bladed weapon raised up in the air in one hand. And based on the way this figure was moving, it read to me like there being like a marionette puppet. And I'm sure there was something of that in the direction. I haven't looked into that, but that's just my guess.
Remind me of Us, how the things move in Us, kind of like with a weird dancey, like, I don't know. Like, it's just odd.
The unusual rhythm, right, to the movement. And that read to me like there was some human control happening. Like someone is puppeting other people. So I kind of tucked that in the back of my mind for everyone else's story that came to follow Justine's.
Mm-hmm. Terribly creepy when it's like that thing scuttles around the car and then we hear the rear car door open and then we hear it shut and we feel like the car shifts as someone's weight gets in the back seat and it cuts off a lock of her hair and then boom, smash cut to the next POV, who is Thanos himself, Josh Brolin. Again, a lot of star power, a lot of Disney IP power in this movie. But
and yet it's a Warner Brothers movie.
Right. Josh Brolin, Korey, he's kind of like the Columbo of this episode. And I don't know if you've watched any of those episodes yet, but he's the one trying to put this together, solve the crime.
You know, when we first get to Josh Brolin and it gives his title card as his character, Archer, what do we see? We see the Batman logo. The world's greatest detective, Batman. Mm-hmm. There's actually some really interesting comic book stuff in this movie. One is that we see the Batman bedding that, you know, he's in because he's sleeping in his son's bed. That's what he does now, it seems like. Every night he sleeps in his son's bed since his son's been missing. And just kind of as an aside, the other kid that's left, Alex, I think I misheard this, but I thought his dad referred to him as X-Man. Like as if he's an X-Men fan. But I think it's actually Axeman that he says, unfortunately. But I do think that would have been cool if it's like you have the one kid is the Batman kid and the other kid's the X-Men kid, like the kind of Marvel versus DC kids that used to exist back in my youth. I thought they were maybe touching on that, but maybe not. But we do see Archer, and he is, like you said, he's one of the guys that's really trying to figure this out, at least that we see. I'm sure there's other parents trying to figure things out on their own too, using their own ways. But he's actually in a unique position where he discovers a little bit of truth to what's going on. And we kind of see that unfold all throughout his scene. And just like, you know, so many of the others, right when we start to see where things are going with his story, it cuts to the next guy, unfortunately. But he has a little bit of a plan with what he's been seeing on the camera footage.
Mm-hmm. We like Justine, with Archer, we spent some time seeing like his day-to-day life. He's by far like the most aggressive of the parents. This introduces the character of the police chief, who will only become like more relevant throughout the story. So I love how it's like these little characters end up like growing in importance, or at least screen time, as the story goes on. Ronnie is kind of also a dick though, right? Like his kid's a dick, he's a dick, like, you know.
Yeah, the second watching, I finally realized that like his son Matthew was the bully. I was like,
bully.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, look at that. Like the second time I realized it, because I was like, I think intentionally the kid has long hair so that it would stand out, and I didn't notice it the first time. But the second time I was like, oh, that's the asshole kid, because the dad's kind of an asshole.
Can I say something about that? This is jumping ahead, but at the end of the movie, Josh Brolin's like looking for that kid in the basement. One, that kid's got a distinct hairstyle. Two, like Josh Brolin's going up to like every kid and being like, "Are you Matthew? Are you Matthew?" Including some who are like of a different race and with dreadlocks. It's like, dude,
like,
come on,
like a black kid. Like,
yeah, you could really speed this up by like just eyeballing some. I know it's dark.
I gotta see the face to know. Okay?
He's downstairs, it's dark, and then it's also he's frantic. He's just trying to find that kid. He's just trying to find his son.
If there was like a scary movie style parody, he'd be like knocking the kids over like bowling pins, right?
Which
He'd be
one's
like,
my son?
And then like one of them,
Matthew.
and then one of them would be like a guy with like a big overweight guy with like a big old beard, and it'd be like,
yeah, one would be
I'm
like
not
Clint
your
Howard,
son.
like Warwick Davis would be in there,
or Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, he just shows up in those movies. You're right. It would be Shaq.
Listen, I get it, movie. It's the night. Like I get it. Like my screen is as bright as it can go. I'm sorry, Josh Brolin can't tell his son from like a hole in the ground. I guess.
Special shout out though to Josh Brolin's son's room that has a fucking Mad Max Fury Road poster.
That kid got taste. I did notice that as well. Pretty freaking cool. He's a bully too, though, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's not a nice guy. He takes it too far, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, like kind of with Justine, like how they kind of parallel is they're both like self-destructive. Like he's negligent of his wife and his job because he's lost a child. It's terrible, obviously. So like his life is falling apart and he can't control that. So he's trying to control like the investigation. He goes and he's, I for lack of a better word, he's bugging the police. He's bugging neighbors. He's stalking Justine, writes witch on her car. So he's also obsessed. So like once again, tying back into like obsession, he's paranoid. And then really fast, we didn't talk about it with Justine, but another thing that happens with Archer is a dream sequence, like an obvious one. And like that's where like a lot of the classic kind of horror is. Like Justine's like looking in her house, and then she looks up and then sees a creepy Pennywise looking face up on her ceiling. Mm-hmm. And then as Josh Brolin's kind of going through his dream, he runs outside and then look outside his house. He sees a big old assault rifle above his above his house. He sees a son. The son can't talk. He's silent. He's lost his voice.
Wait. Don't move. What's the deal with that assault rifle up there? Like it's like one, it's like super CGI looking and weird too, and like it's also like an AR clock, as in like it shows 217, I think, like built into the assault rifle. Like that's weird, right? Like
I've got a theory. Like one, the movie's called Weapons, so obvious visual. But the other thing is, Archer also sees Gladys too. She takes the face of Matthew in the bed. So Justine and Archer, and then later James, all have these visions of Justine, and they're all getting hints because Matthew is silent. He can't talk to him in the dream, and like when at the end of the movie, Matthew's also silent. So I think it's like they're slowly picking up on the mystery, even if they can't put the pieces together. Like they're theorizing. There's the weapons, silence, and Gladys. So all these things are kind of coming together in their dreams.
It's almost like, in a way, maybe those that are under the hypnosis, under the spell, like have a way of reaching out to the people that they're close to or connected to. That might be something to do with it. I honestly don't know, Pappy. I was hoping Stevie would be here to drop a theory, but here we are.
I was gonna say the assault rifle is stupid. Like that doesn't make any sense. It's very
I'll give you
weird
that. I don't need it. You know.
Yeah.
But that face of Gladys that we see in the bed, that's a big scare. That is some scary shit.
Big time.
The only other time you see a gun is in what's his face? The kid's room. Michael, is it Michael? What's his kid's name? Whatever. Archer's son has an assault rifle.
Matthew.
Matthew has like a poster of like a video game, and it has like some kind of assault rifle on it there. That's the only other time that I noticed like an assault rifle or some kind of machine gun.
Yeah, Justine gets a gun later from Paul. But
that's a handgun though.
I just want to add one thing, that after that dream, I think is a pretty big moment of comedy for me. There is a good amount of comedy in this movie. When Archer wakes up and he like looks around terrified, he acts this perfectly, by the way, Josh Brolin, and he says, "What the fuck?" Yeah. Like, I laughed so hard at that moment. It reminded me of The Wicker Man. When Nick Cage like has these dreams and he wakes up and he gives that classic Nick Cage like, "What the fuck?" It's almost like channeling that horror comedy energy.
Wanted to say it so many times. I really do want to say it all the time because I feel it all the time. I love you so much. What the fuck?
He's just so pissed that he had his nightmare. Like, it's so funny.
Well, he's also like, it's frustrating, right? Because like he sees his kid, he's seeing this creepy like clown face, and he's like, it's kind of like when you have your own dream that doesn't make any sense to you in the moment.
I'm seeing assault rifles in the sky. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, exactly. It's like what was that for? Because sometimes we try to find meaning in our dreams. Like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, he does have inspiration coming out of this dream somewhat, because he sees a cell phone tower. Being a contractor himself, he starts drawing lines on maps using like line of sight in his little like leveler. I was a fan of the Justin Long cameo. I always like to see Justin Long in movies. I think he's funny. He's kind of like a super nerdy dad in this. Korey, you a fan of Justin Long?
I think this situation was really funny, like subtly, right? That like he asked the mother if he could see the tape of their kid running out the door, like he has the Ring camera footage, and the mom's like, "I'm sorry, no." And then the dad comes home and he just asks him, and then like you see him watching it with like the mom all pissed off hanging over them, like with her arms crossed. I thought that situation was pretty funny. Totally random cameo though.
Also his reveal, like the way Zach Cregger shows him, like Justin Long like pulls up in the driveway, Thanos has been waiting there for like hours, and Justin Long like slowly turns around. It's like, oh, it's Justin Long.
I saw in theaters, people were like laughing because they're like, oh, it's Justin Long. He's in Barbarian, but also you just know Justin Long because he's just so goofy looking. Yeah. But I thought it was funny too that like Brolin's in like this big old like work truck, and then Justin Long pulls up in a little tiny Prius, and he's like, I can intimidate this guy. I can get him to give me what I want.
Exactly. Like he knows, right? He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And there's a scene I want to talk about that wraps up Archer's part, Pappy, if that's okay. And Archer is now like trying to figure out where to go. Like, where are the kids going? Like, he has this map. Like, he assumes they're running in a straight line. Where do these lines converge? And on his way to go find the answer to that question, he sees Justine pulled in at a gas station / I think her regular spot, which is the liquor store. And he confronts her just to, I guess, give her shit. He doesn't seem to have much of a plan here, right? But it's at this moment they see the classic Naruto run, right? A figure in the distance is running at them. And this figure looks like a fucking lunatic, a madman, right? Like maybe a crazed homeless person, maybe a demon. It looks insane, whatever it is. And it approaches and it starts attacking Justine, Julia Garner. And there's a scuffle between these three characters. And this is what tickled me, Pappy, is that it was Thanos himself, right? Archer. And in the same scene, he's having a little scuffle with Benedict Wong, who's Wong in Marvel. He's the Sorcerer Supreme.
Like from my spoiler, which everybody loved.
I loved it.
That was super funny and cool.
And the Silver Surfer, Justine, who's Julia Garner, Shala Ball. All three of these Marvel characters are kind of having a fight scene together. Obviously not playing their characters, but it kind of just to me was kind of a funny little thing, right? Like, you got a little action scene happening here for the first time, and it involves our 3 MCU people.
I really don't. I'm glad you mentioned the Naruto run again. Like, they run. I've never seen an episode of Naruto, but I know what it means to Naruto run, and they're all fucking doing exactly that shit. And that has to be an intentional choice, right? So he looks creepy. Like Marcus, the character Benedict Wong, he looks absolutely terrifying when he's doing that run, but at the same time, he's doing the meme. It's a little goofy.
Can we talk about tone now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think this movie, like, it might not work for a lot of people, but I feel like the tone of going from classic horror to mystery to serious drama to goofy comedy to like absurd kind of almost comedy, like, I think it really works for me because like all the people are taking everything so seriously because it's the most serious thing that could happen to, like this community. Like, out of nowhere, 17 kids are gone. But the reason why is so fantastically like insane and weird, and no one ever kind of questions it. There's never a moment where someone just goes, except for Archer, says, "What the fuck is going on?" But like, it's almost like that tone, that silliness, like lets us kind of laugh at some of the horror stuff that is borderline ridiculously funny, the borderline kind of creepy, because the premise is so weird. Like, it's so weird of what is causing all of this. So I think it works because when you have zombie Wong coming at you, running like an anime character, it's almost like when you see something so horrific, it's almost kind of funny. It's like, wait, what the fuck is that? And then when you get so close to you realize, oh, I'm in danger, kind of thing. And then like this scene is what solidifies the movie for like, okay, this is ridiculous, but the characters take everything so seriously that, or at least not so seriously, but like they're serious enough to realize they're actually in danger. And even when like the gas station fight continues later, it reminds me of like They Live, kind of, where it goes on for so long, and then Justine's screaming like, "Fucking help me!" Like he's trying to kill me. What are you just standing there for? It makes
just
you laugh.
stand there, operate like the fucking gas station attendants, just standing there with his mouth open, catching flies. Like, yeah, Zach Cregger knows that this cannot be played 100% straight. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing. I like that tone balance that you were describing, Ronnie. The thing with the movie is there's like a clear trajectory of like where that goes, right? It goes from serious and scary to goofy. Like each chapter gets projected progressively a little bit more humorous, a little bit goofier, a little bit less intense. I think like the Archer chapter is the sweet spot for me. And it is kind of like twice in a row and emotionally jarring. And even like the pace of the movie slows down when we cut to this next chapter, Paul, right? So it's like, what's like the first scene of Paul? He's like getting a call, right, from his girlfriend, who we have seen earlier in the movie, by the way. I didn't mention that scene. This girlfriend pours a bunch of liquor.
Oh yeah,
on Justine. You almost think it's going to be like a zombie, or like one of the bewitched people, but it's just a angry woman scorned.
Yeah, it's a fake out, but it works.
Yeah, Korey, Han Solo, your boy. What'd you think about Paul?
He's all alone. What should they name him? Han Solo.
Han Single. Okay.
Well, the first thing we learn about Paul is that he's in a relationship. He's on the phone with someone. We saw her earlier, and they are definitely together and trying to have children.
Yep.
And he's an alcoholic. She's like, "You gonna go to a meeting?" And he's like, I don't know. We'll see. And the funny thing is, we saw Paul earlier in Justine's section, and she was really trying to get him to drink at a bar. And he was just saying, no, I'll just have a Coke. No. But, he eventually succumbs. So that kind of makes that whole scene a little bit worse, contextualizes things we saw earlier, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But the thing that Paul does is he goes on patrol. He's a cop. And he's your regular beat cop. He's not a detective investigating this case. He's not one of those. He's just a beat cop. He's patrolling alone, doesn't have a partner. It seems like it's a small town. This might be Goshen, for all I know, Pappy. Kind of the architecture and stuff reminded me of Indiana.
I think it's in
definitely.
Pennsylvania. There's a license plate at one point, but any town, USA.
I think James might have been trying to break into the popcorn shop. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah. It's Goshen.
But Paul, he sees a local like tweaker, right, attempting a break-in, like I just mentioned, and he chases this guy down, and kind of I don't know, it's both like sad and funny because I do feel for the man, right? He's like patting this guy down, and the tweaker has every classic drug addict excuse you'll ever hear. Like, he's like, no, man, I work there. You just got to call them, but they're closed right now. And like, if you just call them during their business hours, you'll see I'm on the records. Like, and this cop knows he's dealt with tweakers before. But the thing that happens is when he's frisking him, he asks him if he has any sharp objects in his pocket. The guy says no. He reaches in and gets pricked by a syringe in his pocket, of course, on the tip of his finger. And you just feel the devastation of that, right? Like, imagine if that was you, like everything you would be thinking at that moment. Yeah, to me, that was pretty heavy.
I mean, yeah, I said it gets goofier and goofier. That shit's scary. That's pretty intense.
That's horror.
But
yeah,
that's horror, baby.
Then immediately, when he figures out, what does he do? He punches James in the head, and it's like a comedy shot.
It is.
But that also has like weight to it too, because then he sees his fucking dash cam and he's like, oh, fuck.
This is like where it kind of started to remind me of like A Place Beyond the Pines a little bit. Like just like this mini like crime drama story about a cop who did something wrong. And it's like, oh shit, now he's trying to fix it. I was definitely thinking about that movie a little bit right here.
And again, I'm of two minds because I think the premise of this movie is ridiculously strong and cool and interesting. And this is like virtually nothing to do with that, right? Like in the function of the story, it's just introducing the junkie guy as like a character and Paul, who will just eventually be like one of the minions of the big bad in the battle for the house, right? All of this backstory is just extra, but I like it. Like I'm actually really into it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Even like the dynamic with like after he punches the junkie guy, like all of these like actions like have consequences. He has to go talk to his soon-to-be father-in-law or father-in-law. I'm not sure like which one. And like they're basically like, yeah, just like you just got to be cool for a month and we'll record over it anyway. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff's like really interesting, Ronnie. Like, right? Like, aren't you like I said, I do actually like Paul's story a lot, this whole chapter, even though it's nothing to do with the main plot of the movie.
But it doesn't make, okay, so it doesn't connect to the plot per se, but it does connect to the other characters of just like, they're all kind of like the suburban like town looks perfect, but they're all like liars. They all have like their own like demons. Like they all have like their addiction problems. Like James is an addict. So is Paul. So is Justine. And in his own way, Archer is too. He's obsessive. So like they're all like have their issues, showing kind of like they're all similar in a way that they're all like hiding something there. And that this scene works for me because it's like it goes from horrifying, oh my god, I pricked myself, to I punched him in the head. Then it's kind of funny that Paul's trying to talk his way out of it. Then he lies about that. He lies about this to his wife, and he immediately goes and bangs Justine right after he might potentially have an STD, possibly. So like it's just everyone is so gray. Like there's no good and like bad people per se. It's kind of like just these are the people. And then this is the weird shit that they're kind of getting into.
I think Paul's probably one of the worst people up there with Gladys. Like he's probably D tier in terms of goodness in my book. Especially, I do think it's also like kind of informative too, like what's included in each of the characters' chapters, right? Because we see that date from both Justine and Paul's perspective. Justine's is like they're at the bar, and then she's waking him up the next morning. Paul's is like they're fucking. You know what I mean? Like like that's what's important to him or on his mind. Like when that's happening. Also, I think arguably the scariest look of the whole movie is after Paul gets kicked out and he walks by his fucking father-in-law in the police department and he just shoots him that dagger. Like, oh man, he's fucked. Like his father-in-law is not going to be complicit in this cover-up anymore either. Right? Like, you know he's screwed.
And no one respects Paul. No one respects him because Justine's using him to get closer to like the case, because after they have sex, she starts questioning him. And then Paul like kind of dismisses her and she says, fine, suck my dick, whatever. I'll do it myself kind of thing. No one respects Paul. So then eventually when he meets his fate, we probably don't feel as bad, but it's better than like another horror movie where like these characters have no story and they're just there to die. Paul's there to die, but he also leads us to the ending and getting all our characters to like the final like point.
Okay. Up. Get up. Hey, can you hear me? James, you with me?
What the fuck? Fucking hit me, bro.
Okay, here's what's gonna happen now. I'm gonna take these cuffs off you, okay? I'm gonna get in my car in a second. I'm gonna drive away. But are you listening to me? I don't want to see you here again, okay? The way I see it, I did you wrong. You did me wrong. Let's just call it a day. But if I see you out here again, it's gonna be a different story. Yes? Yes? I mean it.
Paul's all of those things, the potentially having AIDS, the getting kicked out of his house, the probably losing his career, culminates in just like this police brutality. And he sees James, who we haven't mentioned, I don't think his name yet. He's the tweaker guy approaching the police station. And the end of Paul's chapter is just chasing him down. I did laugh at this point, Korey, because it's like I said, like, it's the reverse of like circling the drain where you get closer and closer to the heart of the story. Like, James is now like so far removed. He's a character we didn't even see until like Paul's chapter. I don't know. Is he the one begging for money?
Yeah.
Outside the liquor store? So like we kind of see him, right? But like, you know, this is now a very fringe guy in terms of the story of the disappearing children.
But it does show just how one incident just affects everyone in different ways. Like, James doesn't give a shit. He's doing his own thing. Paul doesn't care. He's like, his department's investigating him, but he doesn't give a fuck about it. He's very self-centered. And then obviously the two are more involved or very much affected.
It reminded me of like the movie Clue, where the title cards are like, it could have happened that way, or it could have happened this way, where it's like each one kind of like raises the stakes. And I don't know. It was just funny where it's like, yeah, bitch, we're going there. Now it's James's turn to tell his side of this story.
I want to talk about James, aka Review Dude Josh. Josh, if you're listening, I'm just kidding. This guy does look like him, though, in a very bad way.
Okay, I'm gonna say something like very controversial. I think James gives almost like the best performance of the movie.
He is incredible.
Yeah, dude,
he's
good.
This guy has spent some time in rehab or something. It's almost like a guy out of a Safdie Brothers movie. He is too similar to a drug addict to not have been one at some point.
He's so good.
He's amazing. You know, when we first see him, he's just trying to get a hit. He's hitting the pookie in his tent. He's just scraping and scrounging, trying to catch a buzz. And I've seen many people live this lifestyle. I've been very near it myself. You know, he lives in a tent. He's a homeless guy. He's a fast-talking tweaker. He's definitely going to get a job in sales if he ever sobers up. And I'm sure he'll be very successful in that. I've seen that a lot, too. But, you know, he's just robbing cars, stealing shit. He steals a kid's backpack and her little, like, kid's version of an iPod and tries to, like, pawn it. We do get to see his interaction with Paul, of course, from his perspective, which he's largely blacked out for after he gets knocked out. But just, like, the little stuff with him, like we talked about him calling his family and trying to hustle them. You know, he's probably already hustled them to the brink. They're not falling for his shit anymore. He's trying to do some B&Es. James is just, it's a fascinating thing to follow. Very, like, you know, it's like Good Time, Pappy. It's just like that. To follow a criminal is so, it's so funny to me, especially if they portray it very realistic. Mm-hmm. But I think the important thing with James is that he eventually makes his way into the house, into Alex's house, the one with the boarded up windows. We saw it earlier. And this was a very clever thing they did. He breaks into this house because he looks at it and he sees in the driveway there's a bunch of newspapers that haven't been picked up. He doesn't say anything. They just show a shot of that, and then he proceeds to break in. He knows no one's there because of that. And that's pretty clever. That is definitely some tweaker shit.
A lot of the stuff in this towards the end is very visual and not a lot of telling. It's a lot of showing. I like it a lot.
I'm surprised they didn't need those newspapers for the windows. They just have way too many newspapers in and around this house. It's kind of giving things away.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I think he's kind of sympathetic, though, in a weird way. Like, even though he's stealing a little girl's iPad, like, I think he's, like, not mean-spirited in a way, and he's kind of funny. Like, I don't know. I feel like this character could be, like, very hated in this movie, but I don't hate James at all, per se.
He's too funny for me to hate.
I think he's too funny and too dumb But he's like
he's too stupid.
But he's like an opportunist. Like he's literally walking around and opening up every car door he possibly can. So like, you know, it's almost like he can't control it. It's like compulsive behavior. He's just kind of doing what he does, and it's not like it's not malicious. It's just like that's just James. That's just who he is, kind of thing.
When Paul asks him, he says, "Do you have AIDS?" Because he got poked by his syringe. And James, not even paying attention, he just looks at him and goes, "What? AIDS, motherfucker?" He's like, "Oh shit, not that I know of."
Yeah, James has the scheme because when he does that breaking and entering into Alex's house, he sees some figures in the basement enough to know it's at the same kids who are offering like a $50,000 reward at the pawn shop, a poster that he sees. But when he's calling in to try and like scheme to get the money, he doesn't want to go in the police station. Like, what does he say? He's like, "I'm phobic," or something.
Can you have someone like come give me the money because I'm like phobic or whatever?
He can't like articulate. He can't get it together enough to articulate what he's trying to say to them on the phone. That he saw these kids and he's interested in receiving the reward, but he wants to meet under certain conditions. He's just too tweakery to get that out. So the way he's like forming his sentences makes the person on the other line believe he's like not even telling the truth. He's like, "Yeah, no, I'm being for real. I can take you there like right now. I just, you know, the thing is I don't want to meet at like the police station. How am I going to get the money though? Is it going to be like all together at once though? Because like I don't want anyone to see it. Like it's like shit like that. It's like, dude, get it together for this one moment. You're about to get a big payout potentially."
Yeah, just say, "I have information. What do you need from me?" Like, you'd say less, dude. Like, you're making it harder.
Well, in like the scene before, he literally uses the pawn shop money to go buy like assuming crack. It's a crack pipe, and then he's just before he does his $50,000 scheme, he lights up and then thinks, "Now I'm gonna call the cops. This is a good idea."
It's a meth pipe.
In James's chapter, we also get to see the first glimpse of Gladys in the woods. I think shortly after he makes that call, he's like tweaking out. And she's just like this weird, colorful, very made up in terms of makeup figure in the woods. And I don't know. I thought that was like an interesting, she almost like had this like Gilda, but if Gilda was like really creepy and had way too much lipstick and was like.
Gilda?
Like from The Good Witch, from Wizard of
Oz.
Oh,
Glinda?
Yeah, Glinda. Sorry, Glinda, not Gilda.
Yeah, well, like she stands out so much because obviously, like the orange wig and the Joker-esque makeup on her. But yeah, this is the third character to see a glimpse of Gladys, though, because the two saw in a dream, and then I'm guessing James is tweaking because I don't think she could have hiked her way out to the woods at that point. But I think,
I don't know.
But I think your theory is right, though, kind of, Korey, where it's like they're all seeing this character because she's like behind the scenes pulling the strings. Maybe like it's some kind of like voodoo ritual kind of effect. Like it's infecting their brains because like he interacts with those puppets, the puppet characters. So that maybe it's kind of like entering his like subconscious, kind of like when the other two, like it's affecting their lives. So it's slowly seeping into their subconscious, kind of like hiding in the back there.
The whole thing's very it coded, right? Like kids disappearing and fear.
There's definitely some like nods to it. This is definitely this scene where James sees Gladys in the woods, like, and she looks like a clown. That is 100% a 1990 It Pennywise reference. Like even like how wide the shot is and Pennywise like waving in the distance. Mm-hmm. Like that is 100% the It miniseries right there. And there's another horror movie reference we'll see later, which I'll talk about when the time comes. But I also just want to go back real quick. A couple things with James. When he does call the cops and he's like trying to get the reward. I did write down a quote actually. You can tell on the other line, they ask like, what are the kids doing or something to that effect? Because he says they're in the basement of this house. And he's like, I don't know. They're just standing there. Like he doesn't communicate very well at all, but it's just funny that line. They're just standing there.
And it's almost like he has no idea that they were like kidnapped or gone. Like he's so one-track mind. He has no idea that the entire community is so focused on this. And he's just like, yeah, I see a bunch of kids. They're just like sitting there chilling. Yeah, the bottom of a basement. Where? Oh, no, just some house at the end of a lane. No big deal. Where's my money?
It is 100% that mush tweaker brain shit, you know?
Yeah.
Also, though, when he's in the house and we see him before he sees like the kids, before he sees the parents, which are zombified, he's like stealing shit. And I thought he was stealing spoons so that he could like cook his drugs, but he was just stealing silverware to sell, as it turns out. But he's going through the DVD collection.
Yeah.
And he's like, he pulls out a DVD and it's a Willow. And he's like, Willow, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I laughed so fucking hard in the movie theater, and I was the only one laughing. There wasn't a lot of people there. I went to a 10:30 at night show, but there was like, 3 other couples or something like that. One of them walked out halfway through, as is always the case when I go to a horror movie. But I laughed so hard. He's like, what the fuck, Willow?
Yeah, it's almost just like an inside joke maybe or something. Like I've never seen Willow. I'm aware of like what it is, but I've never seen it there. But I was wondering if like Zach Cregger was like, what's the weirdest movie or like what was like one of his favorite movies as like a kid? Because Willow is so just out of place. Because you would think the logical thing would be like, oh, it's The Shining or it's, I don't know, Nightmare on Elm Street. But nope, it's fucking Willow.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's like, it's the polar opposite of what DVD you'd expect him to glance at. And even he calls it out that it's not like, a Nightmare on Elm Street or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say, since like it's almost like I said before, it's like a fairy tale. Willow's a fantasy movie. That'd be the only connection I could possibly think.
Well, it's just the movie's just getting goofier, you know, and I like it. That made me laugh too. And I even thought, I bet Korey loved that shit. We should mention, so James's chapter, he gets in the confrontation with the cop, Paul, again, particularly brutal. Like Paul gets stabbed with like 3 needles to the face.
Mm-hmm.
But in a last like Hail Mary, he's like, no, I know where the kids are. They go to Alex's house. James gets pulled into the house. And I was super excited when the next title card came up, because this one was like more out of nowhere than Marcus. But like I had been like vibing with Marcus the whole story. Like he's just like this really mild mannered, like by the book, seems like a pretty good boss, like all things considered type guy. Ronnie, do you like Marcus?
I love Marcus. Like I just love that like he's trying to be the mediator. He understands Justine's like predicament. He understands like the need to support his kids as like a principal, but you just stuck in this weird scenario trying to like figure out how to do with this. I love the little touch that like they have like a junk food like thing. like there's his addiction. It's junk food, because like when they're walking through the grocery store, he's on the phone with Justine, and like a fun little touch is like his partner is like showing him like different junk foods, and he's kind of pointing out which shitty food he wants to eat. And then later the hot dog thing.
Those Fruity Pebbles look delicious, but
right?
I would definitely get the blue box. Good call by Marcus.
But no, I just love the little touch of like he's trying his best to help Justine, and he's trying to not solve the case, but he's trying to do like his due diligence to like do his part. He's just a really great all around guy. So then what happens to him is so like, oh, it's awful. But then like, so it just sucks what happens to him and his, I don't know if they're married, but like husband or boyfriend, whoever it is, but like, just like, oh, dang, there's a sad tragedy there.
You're definitely right. Cause Marcus is also like popping candy a lot of times throughout the rest of the movie. Like he's definitely got like, junk food addiction. I like also just like when there's a phone call that we see him happening, like when he's walking through the grocery store. It's the other side of a phone call that he had with Justine. Mm-hmm. But this like goes on longer and like than the original. And now we hear that Justine's like basically like, I'm making a formal CPS complaint. Mm-hmm. Like you have to investigate, which like was smash cut like out of like the first time we hear it. So just, I don't know, those little things feel good on my brain, you know, when it's like kind of like connecting dots of the story, or like filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
And that brings up the in-school visit, Korey, from Gladys.
Yeah. So, of course, Marcus calls in the parents of the boy Alex at Justine's request or demand. And in walks fucking Ronald McDonald, this creepy old clown bitch with a frightening visage about her. This lady just looks nuts.
There's no mystery, right, anymore at this point. The second you see her, you're like, okay, well.
I think this might be the villain.
Yeah.
I love Marcus's Okay, well, I love Marcus's secretary's reaction, and I love Marcus's reaction. The secretary says, your appointment's here, and then Marcus is kind of like, okay, whatever, I'm eating candy, I don't really care. But then, the secretary's giving him a look like, did you ask for this bitch? Really? Did you, do you know who's walking in right now? And then he finally straightens up and he goes, oh shit, what? Who is this? It was just a fun little, it was horrifying because she's terrifying to look at, but his reaction is so, he's trying to be so proper. But my God, is she horrifying to look at?
She's off-putting in every way. The way she talks is weird. She definitely raises flags. And Marcus kind of gets that, right? He insists that they have to speak to the parents or legal guardian. And it isn't much later. I assume a little bit later that day, after she leaves his office, that she shows up at his fucking doorstep. And him being the smart man that he is, does not want to let her in. He keeps trying to shoo her away.
Well, and the movie goes out of its way to be there's specific boundaries you got to have with parents and kids and families and stuff. And he's like, no, this is weird. Why are you at my house?
Well, when she's at the house, she's making up this whole story. I tried to catch the bus. I failed. Can I please come in and have some water? So it's Marcus's partner that lets her in, and they give her water. She asks for water in a bowl, and they're like, that's really fucking weird, but okay. And then she cuts her hand with a stick, and they're like, that's really fucking weird, but we're going to get a first aid kit for you. She cuts Marcus's partner's hair with some scissors. They're like, that's really fucking weird, but we're just going to kind of see how this plays out.
You need to leave now.
And I mean, when she paralyzes Marcus with the voodoo magic that she does right here in the scene, and she rings the bell, and the Marcus's partner, he's there standing in fear. I think at that point, if I was the partner, I think I would have probably dropped that bitch to the ground, right then and there.
Yeah.
That's the sad part though, is they're so kind to letting her in, and then she, being the parasite, just takes advantage of that kindness of but I also love her because she's so quick on her feet. Even if her lies are stupid bullshit, but she reads that these two people are so nice, they'll just kind of take advantage of that kindness.
You're exactly right.
I'd like to take this opportunity to try and talk through the lore of the magic system as we understand it. Because this is we kind of get to see it. So it's she's a witch or something. She needs a personal affect of a victim. She binds it to like a pokey stick or a thorny branch.
The tree.
It's like a magic plant, and she breaks off little pokey thorned branches, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She cuts her own blood, and then if she breaks the stick, that means you go kill someone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's commands she can issue.
Okay.
And we don't see a lot of them, but one that's very clear is if she has someone's hair wrapped around the stick and then breaks it, that person that's under her control is weaponized against the person whose hair or DNA was on the stick.
That's happens
right?
to Marcus, yeah.
This happens to Marcus. It jumps to 11 real quick with Marcus extremely brutally killing his partner by headbutting his head in.
Don't forget the bell too.
Oh yeah, you ring a bell and that initiates it. It's it looks like a shotgun kill in Red Dead Redemption 2 where their face is just gone. It's pretty shocking. It's one of the most gory things in the entire movie, the aftermath of that. And he's just hitting his partner over and over and over again. I did enjoy the little detail though that we see Marcus in the Mickey Mouse shirt as a zombie. But when we rewind, we see that his partner's wearing a Minnie Mouse shirt. They were wearing Mickey Mouse matching shirts on the day, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's extremely brutal. I don't think anything at this point is that brutal. But it's, to me, it's just the reminder of even though this shit's goofy, there's still an inherent threat to what's happening, even though it seems like a more silly I don't think it's silly. It works for me, but like I could see why some people would be like, well, that's a little too silly for me. But like this scene, the brutality, like is really like kind of wakes you up for like, oh shit, there's still like a threat going on here from this little old lady.
Oh yeah, this movie kicks you back into gear, like I think at the right time, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, yeah, this is some serious shit. We get to see who's behind the scenes. She really showcases her power brutally and quite effectively, right? Because they never really explain how it works. You just glean it from watching. And then when you see Marcus take off on that run, he has to run, I think, about, I don't know, 10 miles across town. This is not a guy that runs a lot, I suspect. He's got a stomach full of jelly beans, or maybe he just threw them all up. But
dude, that running montage is long. Like, it just goes and goes and goes. It's like longer than you'd think it would be.
Every time it cuts to him, his eyes are bulging out of his head more.
Well,
I
yeah.
think that when you see him the first time and he's just like at Justine, you wonder why his eyes are bulging like that, right? And I think it's because he's physically exerting himself like beyond the human limit, right? Like no person could make this run, and his eyes are popping out of his head because of it. But because he's completely weaponized in voodoo mode, he's doing it, right?
And there's also one more thing that I forgot about, but then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, that's something that doesn't come back again later, but maybe it does, I missed it. But when Marcus is first forced to kill like his partner, he like throws up on him like this black kind of goo and ooze, and then he bashes his head in. And that's not something that I don't remember happens again later. Does it?
I don't think it does.
I think it's, I don't know if it's just because Mickey Mouse is in the public domain now, but it is pretty rad that it's like the bloodiest, goriest scene in the movie is like just Mickey Mouse getting covered in blood. Like the least
Mickey
Disney
Mouse
thing
is, yeah,
ever. Yeah.
In the frame, chilling.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Well, that's happening. The movie kind of cheats a little bit because like Marcus is killed, like, removed from the story basically, and it still stays within this chapter. But now Thanos and what's Silver Surfer? What's her character name?
Yeah, Shalabal, Justine.
Yeah, Justine team up, and she knows like to connect the dots. Like, oh, that's Alex's house in this like diagram that you've drawn on this map. Cut to, I believe, our final chapter. Alex. I think Alex's dad's pretty cool. He seems like a pretty chill dude. Do you like him, Ronnie? He calls him Axe Man. He's talking about kissing supermodels and stuff. He's like, hey there, big guy. He's got the almost like divorced dad energy.
He is perfect goofy dad energy. We're like, you know, he's cool to Alex, but he's not cool to anyone else because he's just like a goofy fun dad. He like
pick you up a 2 champ. I love you, bud. You know, all that.
Yeah, but like it's awesome. It's nice because like he has like this. Because like, well, this is what makes it tragic later, right? Like his parents seem extremely loving. They're very kind. They the dad says, oh, Aunt Gladys, you know, it's almost like a sitcom. She's going to come live with us for a little bit. And they're, oh, there's how nice of them to do that, even though like she's very distant and they haven't seen her in years. They didn't even come to their wedding, but mom and dad are so nice and loving and caring. You know, what a wonderful
crazy.
family.
That's crazy, right? Like I would not, a great aunt, I don't know, who I've never met. Dude, you're not living in my house.
It's not happening. Yeah, I tell my wife it's just not happening.
That's
Sorry,
nuts. Yeah. Look at her wig. Like, no way. We're going to have an interview process.
There has to be like an application process and a vetting process at the very least.
That's nuts. Like, as soon as she shows up, it's like, okay, well, you got a week at most.
My rudeness would save me a lot of trouble, you know?
If you're kind, you'll get your head bashed in. But so we get introduced to Alex, and he's getting bullied at school. He's a little quiet, but his home life seems nice. He doesn't really share that with his parents, but he he seems like he has a loving parents and family. And then we see in the middle of the night, Aunt Gladys is being helped into the house. You see like the picture of like the potted like plant, and she's all feeble, and then mom and dad are having kind of not an argument, but like a differing discussion, kind of saying like shouldn't she be in a hospice? Like she's gonna die. It's like adopting like a sick cat. Like it's not very long for this world here. And then Alex takes a sneak peek of Aunt Gladys, and it's that same exact framing and shot of like of Archer's dream of like the creepy face without the makeup and the wig. So Alex knows something's a little bit off about Auntie here.
Just to go back to what you said about the sick cat, do you think that's what the dad meant when she's like, oh, probably a month max? Like, that's all she's got to fucking live? Like,
yes, but
that's what I was picking up.
But that's perfect, though, because this movie takes place a month after the whole thing happens.
Yeah, that's true. He was right.
So it's actually true. Like, it's a setup. It says, like, oh, after 30 days, it's been a month, that all the kids go back to school, and she's only actually there for a month because the movie ends.
If this was one of those 2015 to 2022 prestige horror movies, Alex would have teamed up with Gladys at the end and like become a witch himself. Like, that's how all of those A24 movies ended. For he adopts the dark powers. Did you like these scenes, Korey, though?
Well, you finally get a truly sympathetic character, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Someone that is good, and you really feel bad for when they suffer. You know, we saw some people earlier that were kind of flawed. They all have their problems. Justine and Archer and Paul and James. But Alex is just a poor little kid that gets picked on and, you know, loves his parents and now has to deal with this unimaginable situation with this old fucking bitch that has voodooed and zombified his parents.
Horrifying.
And is forcing him to do things.
Yeah.
You know, the parents are stabbing themselves in the face with a fork.
Yeah.
This is a child's worst nightmare. Like, it's just like feeling powerless and abandoned. You take care of your own parents. Like this is a horror movie. It's not a conventional horror film where like everything is very, very serious. But like you said though, Korey, like the director knows when things need to be brutal and horrifying to remind you of like, this is some awful shit.
And this woman, you know, she's like rejuvenated at this point after she casts the spell on Alex's parents. And I think that's her whole angle, is like she can live longer if she does this to people. And I think that's why ultimately she abducts the kids, as she alludes to when she talks to Alex. But she's probably been around for like 200 years or something, you know? She tells Marcus that she's Alex's aunt, but the dad says to Alex, it's your mom's aunt. And who knows how long that story goes back, you know? It's like your mom's aunt, your aunt's aunt, and she's been playing that card for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people are going to stop believing it at some point. There's no way she's this like young mom's sister. Are you kidding me? This woman's like 95 years old. Could die any month.
Uncle Buck was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But also like Gladys even says like it's not working anymore because she has to up the ante. So then she's been doing this for so long, her magic isn't working the same. So she has to like up her game and go after 17 kids this time to kind of keep herself either alive or younger, because she kind of does a little bit de-age. Not a lot, but almost like, well, at least physically she can move more to kind of an extent.
Yeah.
We don't see how she does that though, right? Like she just kind of like has the kids in the basement. Like what is she?
Yeah. It's not like Hocus Pocus where they suck out their soul and drink it or whatever.
That part's left mysterious.
But it's kind of the same concept.
I figured it was like proximity. It's kind of like she's feeding off of their energy, whether it's like I guess we don't see her eat or drink anything, but maybe just being in the area kind of lets her take control or hold or the youth from them. Maybe I don't know, but like it doesn't over explain it because it's already kind of goofy. So the more you explain the lore, the more you're getting into dangerous territory of going too far.
But see, okay, that's where it's confusing because the movie is named Weapons. I think even having seen it, I've still convinced myself that she was going to use these kids as like child soldiers. But like, I don't think that's the case, really. Right? I mean, like they do become
I'm telling
that.
you, Parasite was taken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it called Weapons?
Well, because anything can be weaponized. This really kindly principal can just be taken to do what he wants to. Paul and James are weaponized. Like these people can just be used at any time. That's what I got.
Yeah, Josh Brolin says, you know, like when he's describing Marcus, he was like honed in like a missile, like he was completely weaponized. And the humans are, in a lot of cases, once they're voodooed, they're all weaponized to some degree.
So they can be weapons or soul rejuvenation factories.
Parasite was fucking taken.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm just trying to understand the lore that's given.
Calling a marionette would have been way too obvious. Contagion was already taken. The Last of Us is already taken. You know, it's hard.
The Last of Us.
Listen, I'm glad it doesn't over-explain. I'm fine with that. I also like that, like, a significant portion of Alex's chapter is, like, explaining how they were able to pull this off. And, like, even after the dad, like, stabs his face, the movie takes the time to be like, okay, like, he put on a bunch of makeup, and then there was, like, this whole scheme that was like, oh, he had a stroke, and that's how they got by the police, you know? So, like, it takes time to, like, fill in any loose ends that might come up. But Korey, let's get into, like, the final showdown here. The witch knows she needs to leave. She's taken Alex. We have Josh Brolin and Justine showing up to the house. Just how does this all go down?
I'm going to get into that. Before I do, though, real quick, I want to say some of Alex's stuff that I really liked was like him being forced to be a servant to Gladys. And Gladys, played by Amy Madigan, is fantastic in this movie. She was the woman, the neighbor in Uncle Buck, for those that like have that hint of recognition with her. But Alex having to collect personal items from his schoolmates was kind of a cool scene because, you know, he scans the room and you see him looking at each item until he kind of like figures out the easiest way to do it. I just really like that little touch. A lot of stuff being said without being said verbally, right? Through the movie making itself. And this idea, this horrifying idea that this woman's going to take Alex with her when she leaves. And this is his life now. He's basically like a familiar to a witch, right? Like a vampire would have a familiar. And that fucking sucks.
No, dude, I'm telling you, an A24 movie, that would be the ending, and he'd be pumped about it. It'd be like this weird score playing, and he would rise up or something, or... And
maybe in a different tone, I'd accept that too, Pappy. Not with the comedy they've been giving me in this movie. I need a good comedic ending here. But the ending of this movie, or at least the beginning of the ending of this movie, at the house, Alex's house, Gladys is there. We got Paul there, he's been zombified. We got James there, he's been zombified. But they're being investigated by Justine and Archer, who show up. They enter the house and are immediately attacked by those two zombies, right? So Justine is being attacked by Paul, and Archer is being attacked by James, which is fucking hilarious. James, this little skinny tweaker guy, you know, he's about 120 pounds, you know, pure meth and adrenaline. He runs at Josh Brolin and just gets bodied.
Yeah.
Gets up, runs at him again, and just gets bodied. It's hilarious. Like, he can't physically win this confrontation, but he's weaponized. He just has to keep coming back, right? He doesn't have the limitations of a normal human. He's just acting on, like, evil magic and electrical signals. It's like, it's pretty funny to see. But Justine's under real danger here when she's being attacked by Paul. And we get to see, like, some things that you might see in a classic, like, 80s horror movie, where she takes, like, the potato peeler, and she just takes a couple peels away from his face. Ugh. You know, she gives him a real close shave. That's pretty brutal and kind of a classic thing to see in an old school style horror movie. Like, you'd see that in a Freddy movie, you know? Yeah, it's visceral, and it's just like, I wouldn't. Like, I'm trying to think of a better word, but I'm not like exploitative, kind of where it's like it's like going for like the shock value kind of thing of it, but it's just showing us like Paul's gone, like you said, Paul's a weapon. He's no longer Paul anymore, and then you can peel away his skin, and he feels nothing. There's no reaction.
He is gone, but there's also like the movie spent a lot of time developing the two people who are like in this fight. Right, like he's not just some nameless like cop who showed up on the scene and became a zombie. Like there's a whole, we know their backstory, and like he's choking her after, you know, she got him, like pressured him to drink and like ruined his life in a lot of ways too. Like, I mean, he was more responsible, right?
Yeah, there's something behind the scenes there, right? There's
right, yeah,
the underlying conflict that we saw.
Yeah, well, like Paul's under the influence of Gladys, but obviously you have that the other meaning of that, right? The under the influence, and it means it means something more to Justine when she has to ultimately, like, you know, take Paul out.
We get the scene, like I said, of Josh Brolin earlier in the basement. Alex is a clever kid, and before Archer, Josh Brolin, who's now under control, can choke out Justine, Alex has made his own little voodoo.
Yeah. But it's also like good cinematically because he's under pressure. Like his parents are trying to break down the door.
Very The Shining.
And it's like multiple rooms he moves through while they're trying to break down. And they get through one door and he goes into the bathroom. And like they're on his ass, it's like the ticking clock. It's like you got to get this done fast.
Mm-hmm. Again, yes, very. I would say it's heavy, it's intense, right? Like it's like reminiscent of The Shining, like the faces coming through, like very, very intense the whole time. But the second that he casts the spell, this is a big swing from the movie. This is like the most tonally different, I think, than like you think about those early scenes where Justine's walking around town like afraid for her life from like all sides, basically. This is like straight up goofy looking. Like the kids, all of the kids, the weapons are now chasing Gladys through like neighborhoods. Like at one point she's like going in one side of the house and out the other. Like it's almost like Monty Python levels, like, right, Ronnie? Like this is like a goofy chase scene in a lot of ways. It's funny. The guy mowing, he just stares at him.
I think this is the most satisfying ending to a movie I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Of just like
exactly
of this hatred of, if any character deserves this, Gladys deserves this, and she's running for her life. And like for her, she's legitimately terrified because she knows what's going to happen. But it's all shot so like so flat. Like a lot of the scenes are comedy shots. They are 100% shot flat, and you're seeing the reaction of neighbors going, "Wait, what the fuck is going on?" And it's so funny. But if you think about it from Gladys' perspective, it's like, it's so terrifying to have a bunch of kids coming at you like little like piranhas, and you know what's gonna happen. Like she's fully aware they're gonna rip her fucking head off.
Yeah,
you're right. The cinematography is shot like a comedy scene, and that is great because this movie knows what it's doing. I especially like the part, you talked about they run through houses, which those poor people in their houses get destroyed. But there's like a guy mowing the lawn, and he sees it in the distance, and he just sees him run between two houses, and it's just like flat shot, wide, and then you see Gladys running around with her arms flailing, and then you see 20 kids chasing after her right behind, and it stays on that shot, like the camera doesn't move. So it's it definitely like something you would see in a cartoon.
I haven't laughed that loud in a movie theater in a really long time.
Since the Willow scene earlier.
Since the Willow scene, yeah, before that. But I was just like, because like, I think it earns it. Maybe Pappy, you might disagree that it's a little too like funny or too silly and over the top. But like, I think it earns it by like just like, if you're gonna buy that all these kids can be controlled by blood magic and they can do these awful things and they're like basically little puppets, then I love that they get turned on that bitch at the end. She gets what she deserves.
Listen, I mean, like, I really like it, actually. And, like, contrast, you're talking about the cinematography. We talked about how in the first chapter, it's like, oh, the camera's so dynamic, it's following Justine around. And this is like, yeah, that flat shot of just, like, the kids running across from, like, one side of the frame to the other, chasing Gladys. It's, like, it's shot completely differently. I think it's especially goofy, too, because, like, there's nothing particularly creepy about the kids other than the fact that they've got this mob mentality. So, like, the whole time when they're chasing, they're just kind of like, like chasing her around until they catch her, and then it's like fucking brutal as they tear her body like limb from limb too, and like gets more like dynamic and crazy. Like I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Anything else, Korey, here from the ending? Josh Brolin reunites with his son. It's kind of like an abrupt ending too.
It is, yeah. He does finally find his son, of course, after all the kids are snapped out of it, sort of. Everyone that was zombified and under control is at least no longer under control after Gladys is killed. The blood magic, right, I guess, ends after the person whose blood it was is dead or whatever. She's taken out very brutally, and then the kids are no longer under her influence, and no one else is either. So that includes our friend James, and who was shot. He's dead now, actually. And Paul, who's also shot. And Alex is up there. He's reunited with his parents. And I do want to underline, Pappy, something you mentioned, and that's there's a classic Shining shot. That was the other horror movie reference I was going to mention, when the mom breaks through the bathroom door and she sticks her face through it. But they don't talk. She just kind of growls, because that's what they do. But Julia Garner is glad to see that Alex and his parents are reunited, but something's a little off. You know, they still have that blank look in their eyes. They're not saying, "Oh, Alex, we're so glad to be back." They've been used up by the switch. Either that or just being like in that state, being in a comatose state fries your fucking brain if you're in it for too long. And they were in it for longer than anyone else. So the parents are fucked. Our little narrator comes back into play and says that the parents are still being fed soup every day by someone, but not by Alex. And Alex has moved in with an aunt who's nicer now. So a real tragic ending to his story, unfortunately, you know? And then as for the rest of the kids, the narrator explains that some of them started talking again this year. And so we're led to believe this might be a couple years ahead of when this story happens. And maybe some of the kids came out of it somewhat. Maybe some of them didn't.
Yeah, well, it ends. I said it doesn't end happily, but it ends hopeful. There's a chance that things might return to normal, but there's also like, this is trauma. It's traumatizing for like this child, what he has to go through. And then if you're going along with my theory of like, this is kind of about like addiction and obsession, then like after someone goes through a battle with some kind of being, you know, addiction, then like there's still always going to be like scars and kind of, you know, trauma behind this. So maybe things aren't always going to go back to the way they were, but there might be a new normal for Alex. It's better than, you know, being stuck, you know, taking care of his parents without any kind of love and support anymore.
Dude, no, his dad was cool. He called him Axeman. Like, that was like wanted his dad to come back. I hope there's still hope. I still believe.
No, yeah, same with
Myth.
That's what I said. Like, it's not happy, but it's hopeful.
I'm hopeful. I'm right there with you with that. I like the MGMT song. That was hopeful, too. At the end, that plays during the credits. That was good.
I missed that song, but I got the opening song was Beware the Darkness by George Harrison. Because like I don't really notice music that well, but I really noticed that song because when I first heard it, I was like, this is a little bit out of place. But then it kind of grew on me as like the opening kept going.
I do think that if this took place in Goshen, there's no way Goshen PD is competent enough to like cover this up. This is going to become the biggest story in the world ever. Witches exist, like confirmed, like down multiple witnesses.
The Amish have been telling you for years, and no one listened.
Right? Yeah. Do you guys have any other final thoughts?
Yeah.
Go for it.
This is a Warner Brothers movie. Big year for Warner Brothers. With a Minecraft movie, which came out this year. Sinners. Almost as good as a Minecraft movie, some might say. Superman. The Conjuring: Last Rites. And of course, this movie, Weapons.
That's crazy.
Warner Brothers has had an insane year with these big hits. Of course, Minecraft being, I think, the highest grossing movie of the year beside K-pop Demon Hunters.
Biggest movie of all time.
You guys in that movie.
It's not us. It is like the most viewed movie on Netflix. It's everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it like via osmosis, like, you know, just like on social media, I suppose, but I don't have anything besides like just, okay, I know it's a thing.
Well, I have zero interest in K-pop Demon Hunters, but I might, out of morbid curiosity, check it out at some time, even though it's definitely not my genre, definitely not my thing. I think if something's that popular, there might be some nugget of quality in there somewhere. But with this movie, with Weapons, I actually went into this movie completely blind. I did not watch any trailers. I went into this movie on your recommendation on Instagram, back when I used to have one, Ronnie.
Oh, yeah.
You posted about it after you saw it. And I take you as a pretty good source for movie recommendations. So you said to watch this. I went and watched it. And I'm glad I did.
So Weapons and The Substance is the two movies I got you to go see.
That I've told you about, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of other things that I noticed the second watching was there's like no speeches in this movie. There's no like evil villains telling you their dastardly plot. Like Gladys says enough to Alex that we get it, but there's no evil like speeches. We don't really get Gladys's motivation besides just to live longer. So I really like that. Just kind of like this is it. This movie takes place in like 3 days. And I like how you mentioned it, Pappy, how we're getting different perspectives every time. It's a very limited kind of overarching scope of the time, but we're getting more and more details from every time it cuts away. I think it's interesting that no one questions the insanity. I don't think they have time to question, why is this junkie attacking me? Why is Paul like trying to murder me? Like, things are happening so fast that they don't have time to process the craziness of it. And I kind of like that. It's just kind of like I said before, it's like a fairy tale where like you don't question the logic, because it's all just going on, and they, regardless if you think it's crazy or not, they're still dealing with it the best they can. So,
well, and I think Josh Brolin's like on his last rope too. Do you know what I mean? At this point, he's like willing to believe anything. Like, he's already kind of like leaning towards witchcraft, like what he, you know, before he sees anything.
That was his first thought.
Yeah. That's...
And the last thing was just, I love just how it's genre bending, and just love like it's horror, it's mystery, it's a drama, it's definitely a comedy. There's action, like we didn't talk about like the Paul's like Fast and the Furious like chase against James, the ending when all the kids are running through the house, that crazy energy. It's like an action movie. So I'm thoroughly impressed like how it bends so many different genres like that.
Were you guys like Whitest Kids You Know fans?
Yeah.
Apparently there's a lot of references to that in this movie, like including like
there's one
the number of hot dogs. What one do you know of? Was it that one?
Yeah, like I watched Whitest Kids You Know. It was, and there's a couple like skits that my friends and I would like send each other like back in the early days of YouTube and stuff. But I remember there's this one skit where like one of the characters meets like a doctor, and then like they're talking about hot dogs, and like 7 hot dogs a day being like too many, kind of the whole joke of that kind of thing. So it's like a little like inside reference.
They did have a lot of hot dogs on that tray, probably 7.
Yeah.
Zach Cregger has said that it was like part of his grieving process. I guess one of his friends died, or one of like the people from Whitest Kids You Know died.
Trevor, I think it's Trevor Moore is his name. He, I think he fell off a balcony, like something tragically. So yeah, and then like this was like because like all of his movies, like even like Barbarian to lesser extent of this, like have comedy in it. So there's definitely like the history of comedy, and then there's like even like Willow, like there's a bunch of weird little touches that seems like an inside joke.
I would say between this and Barbarian, he's only 44 years old. Like, that's pretty exciting. You know, I'd like to see where he goes next. I guess we're getting pretty close to my yesterday. Anything else in terms of final thoughts? Or are you guys ready?
Let's go into it. Yes
All
or
right.
no's.
Let me go first. It's a yes. And it's a pretty hard yes. And I think I even liked it more talking about it with you guys. I think I went into it totally blind. I knew it had something to do with disappearing children, and that's about it. It was completely different than what I expected, even to the point where it's like, to the extent that there were those number of POV chapters, like I said, like they kind of had the sense of like one-upping itself, and like we're going farther and farther out to different characters, which I was like I said, excited for, especially like when Marcus came up. I really like the tone, like we said. I think it looks good, other than like the color grading, which I still don't like this washed out look in general. But yeah, hard yes. Looking forward to his next movie, and yeah, I like the heavily made up looking villains that we've had recently. Like, it kind of reminded me of Longlegs, I think last year, where it's like this, the villain is like way over makeuped, and it kind of has that like ridiculous weird look to it. So hopefully see more of those. But Ronnie, you want to go next?
Yeah. 100% would recommend this. I always trying to think of like, who do you recommend this to? I feel like even people who don't like horror could get into this. Like I have a friend who like always asks, like he doesn't like horror, but he'll ask me like, oh, I heard this horror movie's good. Should I see it? Like, is it too scary for me? Which, you're a grown ass man. Come on. But like, I always say like, it's a horror in the way that like what's happening is horrifying, and there are some like kind of classic kind of jump scares, but I feel like I think it was you said it, Korey, it's more of a mystery than it is like a horror, but there is horrifying things that do happen. So I feel like almost anyone could get something out of this as long as you have patience. Because like it's everything that's happening is very interesting, but you just don't all see how they interconnect. And then once it connects, for me, I love it, and I think it's just fascinating to see like how you can combine all these genres together and it works, and you have a very unique kind of original movie.
And last but not least, Korey, I want to say like probably my favorite thing that you've said tonight is that this movie should have been called Parasite. I actually can't stop thinking about that, that they would have been such a better name. But what else do you want to say about not Parasite, but Weapons?
I really like Weapons. I'm going to give it a yes. I was intrigued very early on by how this movie tackled different phases of addiction that we see in our regular characters. That's not the main plot of the movie. It's just something that's there that adds to the story. I think this is just kind of a cool movie that is slightly horror, more mystery, chilling at times and funny at times. Overall, just a great watch for someone like me. You know, there's certain folks that I definitely would not recommend this movie to. But I think if someone can handle a little bit of horror, they should watch it. It's worth checking out. It's really cool.
It is a cool movie. I like it. I like its tone. It feels modern. Yeah, I'm glad this movie is preserved. I'm glad we kicked off spooky season with Weapons. I have a quick trivia, and this is going to be a quick closest to the winner of this will say, take it away, spoiler man, in addition to like any kind of hot take or thing they want to say. Ronnie, I'll let you go first with a guess. But again, I thought this movie should have been called Parasite, like Korey said. I thought it was going to be about child soldiers, weapons, Joseph Kony. How much money did Kony 2012 raise in 2012? Total raised. Best estimate, according to my extensive research this afternoon.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Didn't he like get caught masturbating in public or something? Like had a total mental breakdown? And
that sounds familiar, but
or Joseph Kony or the guy who raised the money? Because I don't know if Joseph Kony masturbated. I'd have to look that up.
I think it's the guy who started the movement, because Kony was the guy in Africa, right?
Right. Yeah. Big viral video at the time.
Yeah. Okay. How much money did that raise? Oh, I'm gonna go with $6.2 million.
Korey?
$6.2 million and 1 cent.
the actual retail value of money raised, and yes, it was able to confirm that both Joseph Kony and the guy who founded Kony 2012 masturbated. Thank you, ChatGPT. But the total number raised though was 28 million. Korey, you were closer. I don't know if it worked or not. Kind of just forgot about it after it happened. But don't forget about spoilers. Don't forget about Big Dumb Movie or Wasted Potential. Korey, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I want to say to our listeners here that I was a guest on a recent episode of Wasted Potential, sort of. They had their episode titled Monkey Court, which you can check out on the Wasted Potential podcast, where it's a courtroom scenario, and they're talking about courtroom movies. And I am, of course, the bailiff. I'm the most appropriate choice in the world of podcasting to be the bailiff. It was me, the natural position. So you can hear a little bit of me on that episode, but mostly you can hear them talking about some classic courtroom movies, including My Cousin Vinny, of course. So check that out. That's Wasted Potential. And I will say the outro. Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Special thank you to our patrons: Matt Troll, Brother Brian, Druid King, Nick, The Meg, Nurse Stacy, The Wolf, ow, 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 Barky 420, PK, Spencer, Gale, Swole, Cheese Zombie, Sebastian, Dr. Lars, Stone Cold Austin, Nephew Quinn, Best Friend Drew, Shatty Daddy, Jimmy the Cricket, Optimus E, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Derbs, Teddy Ruxpin. If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast. Be sure to check out Korey's podcast, Big Dumb Movie. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review. To do this, 1. Search for movie spoilers. 2. Click on our orange Spoilers Bowl logo and scroll all the way to the bottom. 3. Leave us some stars and some words. Now you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Spoilers is now available on Audible. That was Spoilers.